American stand-up comedian, actor, writer, and producer Jerome Allen Seinfeld is from. His role as a fictionalized version of himself in the comedy Seinfeld, which he co-created and co-wrote with Larry David, is what made him most famous. One of the most celebrated and well-liked sitcoms ever, the program aired on NBC from 1989 through 1998. Seinfeld is a stand-up comic who specializes in observational humor. He was ranked as the 12th best stand-up comic of all time by Comedy Central in 2004. Here are a few facts about him and his storied sitcom that you may not be aware of. Number 1. Seinfeld is not pitched as a show about nothing. The real pitch, when Larry and I went to NBC in 1988, was we want to show how a comedian gets his material, he said. The show about nothing was just a joke in an episode many years later, and Larry and I to this day are surprised that it caught on as a way that people describe the show, because to us it's the opposite of that. Number 2. Enjoys being abused by comedy club owners. In the documentary I did in 2002, called Comedian, there's one point where I'm performing at Governor's in Levittown at the absolute height of Seinfeld mania, he said. And the club owner comes in the dressing room and says to me, "I need you off stage by 9:15. And I said, "What?" And I was performing there to create a new act. It was kind of a big deal that I would come to that small club, and the owner of the club just treated me absolutely the same as everybody else, and I just thought that was so funny. That's why I wanted to go back into doing stand-up comedy, because as the star of your own TV show you don't get treated like that, but as a stand-up performer you do get treated like that. Number 3. The Rye episode was inspired by a true story. In episode 11 of season 7, George and Jerry go to tremendous measures to replace a loaf of rye bread that George's parents had brought to a dinner party. According to an interview with news.com.au, this was based on a true story that comic and author Carol Leifer told Seinfeld. Number 4. Once abandoned a Seinfeld episode because it lacked humor. There was one episode where Jerry bought a handgun, he said. And we started making it and stopped in the middle and said, "This doesn't work." We did the read-through and then canceled it. A lot of other stuff happened, but trying to make that funny ended up being no fun. Number 5. On Seinfeld, Michael Richards' selection of shoes remained the same. Richards wore 2 identical sets of black Doc Marten boots for the duration of the 9-season show. Number 6. There was a strict, no hugging, no learning, rule on Seinfeld. In order to prevent sentimentality or scenarios that would cause the characters to alter or grow, Larry David made sure that the actors and crew were aware of his no hugging, no learning mantra for the show. A lot of people don't understand that Seinfeld is a dark show, David said. If you examine the premises, terrible things happen to people. They lose jobs. Somebody breaks up with a stroke victim. Somebody's told they need a nose job. That's my sensibility. Number 7. The soup Nazi was a real Nazi, according to an abandoned storyline. The following Seinfeld episodes were omitted. Frank Costanza learns about medical marijuana. The prompter, a character who omits important information from stories. The soup Nazi being a real Nazi. Kramer preparing human skeletons for museums, and the fact that the entire group travels to Mexico but does nothing. Number 8. Declined a $110 million offer for a Seinfeld 10th season. Nothing wrong with that, to be sure. However, the network eventually understood that Seinfeld wasn't joking when he declined the opportunity to return for a 10th season in exchange for $5 million per episode, or a total of $110 million. Number 9. Seinfeld begins and ends with buttons. It might take binge watching the show to notice that Jerry and George's initial exchange in the pilot and their final exchange in the finale, which is practically verbatim, are both about a misplaced button. Number 10. Beginning in 2021, Seinfeld will air on Netflix for a 5-year period. However, we do know that Hulu paid $130 million for the domestic rights to Seinfeld for a 6-year run that ended on June 23, 2021. Terms of the deal were not made public. Netflix inked an agreement to buy the global rights to Seinfeld